Hey guys, here we are, the Real Agents of Change, talking with our favorite specialized nonprofit, Realty Gift Fund, and they have the most unique stories, and every story ends in a win-win-win where nonprofits are being funded. Bruce, what's the story for today?
So anyway, a friend of mine who I'd worked with for many years in the business here in Santa Fe came to me and said, I'd like to use my building for a charitable cause. But because of the location of the building, the neighborhood that it was in, it almost needed to be occupied by a nonprofit. It was not in a high profile location that would be good for an office building, for an office user, or a high profile retail tenant. And we put together a strategy for us to accept his building as a charitable donation. This was a bargain sale. So I've got to tell your listeners that this building had a value had an appraisal of $379,000. But my donor wanted $250,000 of cash from Realty Gift Fund upon accepting the donation. And the difference between the $250 and the $379 was going to be his charitable gift. We agreed to do this. We wrote up a contract and we went out looking for the right buyer, which in fact was going to be the right user because of the location of the building. And it needed to be a nonprofit. So we made a list privately between the two of us of 8 nonprofits in Santa Fe that might need the building. And we started making phone calls. I made 3 phone calls to the first 3 on my list. 2 of them, the first 2, offered to buy the building from us. We offered to sell the building to them at $360,000, a little bit less than the appraisal. We ended up making a deal with Santa Fe's #1 nonprofit, which deals with the homeless population, at $350,000. And we closed with them. We closed on the donation and the sale on the same day. And they wrote us a check, this nonprofit, for $350,000, which created some cash for Realty Gift Fund because I had to pay my donor $250,000, so I had about $100,000 left over. And I gave I had some costs, so it was probably about $90,000 left over. We granted $75,000 of the leftover funds to the nonprofit that was buying the building. It was their down payment assistance. And then we went to a different nonprofit, well known in our community, who had just started a lending program to benefit nonprofits trying to acquire buildings for themselves. And we put these 2 together, and they got a loan from this other nonprofit to fill the gap between the purchase price and our down payment assistance. And when we went to the closing table, they had to write a check for about $3,000 to step into a building that had been appraised at $379,000. And it's 2,600 square feet. It was in really good shape, and it was perfect for their needs. Their main headquarters, it was a block away, and they serve our homeless population in multiple ways, for which we are all grateful. And now they have an expanded facility to help with homeless activities and programs. And I just thought it was a great outcome for a building that if we had tried to sell it conventionally to a conventional user, we were going to really struggle.
That is a fascinating story, and it just goes to show how creative you all can be. You know, do what you do best and refer the rest. And by referring that deal to you, it turned out to be an even better deal than if even the guy that owned the building tried to sell it himself as a for sale by owner.
Well, and for our donor, he was leading with charitable intent. He wanted this building to serve the nonprofit world. He knew that kind of from the start, but he left it to us to decide how to do that. And you are right about the creative part. We have lots of stories about lots of properties that we have taken. And you've got to put your creative hat on in order to produce the most optimal outcome, which sometimes is mostly financial, but not always, right?
Well, there you have it. Another story of how Realty Gift Fund is benefiting the nonprofit world through gifts of real estate. Can't wait to share the next story here at the Real Agents of Change. Thank you, Bruce. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Cami.
Easy enough.